What's the most challenging aspect of it for you, personally speaking?
The business or record? Are you talking about as far as being a recording artist?
Yes.
Most challenging things about being a recording artist.
As fun as it is for you, what do you find to be the most challenging at this point?
Being satisfied with a finished record. That's really challenging. Like I listen to songs. I have a new song on my album called Kanye Should Have Never Married That Bitch. And there's a part, that bitch belongs to the streets. Like I keep hearing this part, that bitch belongs. And I should have had somebody with a really deep voice say that. So you'll always hear your records and be like, I could have added that there. I'm mad it missed it. So finishing a record for sure is probably the most challenging part of you always feel like a record is incomplete even once it goes out to the general public.
Now, are you a perfectionist?
I have to admit somewhat, yeah.
And being a perfectionist, even to that point, is that a strength or a weakness?
It's a strength. Some people feel like it's a weakness because you don't put out a ton of music overnight and you can miss windows. The universe could open up an opportunity for a song at that time and you missed it. But I truly believe greatness will always open up its own space.
Now, when it comes to your catalog of music, you just shared maybe one regret to a particular song that you just described. But on your vast body of work, what do you think's been your biggest regret musically or sonically? If not that particular example.
So Tupac Must Die, I wish I would have made it faster. Like it's 80 BPM. I should have made it a lot closer to 96 BPM. Like I'm slick enough and wise enough with music to know how to do it. Like it's more never seen a man die. I seen a man die than it is, and it should have been a lot closer to murder was the case. So that's probably my greatest regret as far as musically, and never doing a visual for Car Wash. Like it's probably not a music video, but I should have challenged myself a lot more to put together some kind of visual to document that part of Los Angeles culture, street urban culture for the rest of the world.
Do you think these items could have been bigger than where they currently are at had you done these things?
Yeah, Tupac Must Die would have been probably 10 times bigger, I mean, there was shadow bans and stuff you have to deal with because people respond negatively to, really sophisticated content where, people, they call into question kind of methods, or if it's real, they might think it as negative. They didn't even give it a chance. But if it has a tempo, then it's something, DJs can support versus having something that DJs can't support.
When it comes to that song in particular, what's been the most surprising comment or reaction to that song for you personally? Whether it was the person that said it or what the person said about it?
For some reason, there is a small minority, but it is a decent amount of people that actually think I was actually in the car that killed Tupac, and I'm explaining my own story. That shit blows my mind. I can't even believe that. Like a family member, my younger cousin was like, man, this is big cousin gonna get in trouble for telling on himself, and I was like, that is crazy. So it was that, it was really good that people thought I had something to do with it. I'm like, I was in high school, like, the hell are you, like I'm 15 years old when this is happening.
Now, there have been investigations on Tupac and his death and things of that nature. Have any authorities ever questioned you once that song was released?
No. Everybody knew, the authorities, everybody knew what happened already. Nobody was questioning it.
When it comes to your catalog of music, at this point, what do you think has been your biggest song thus far?
That Good featuring Ty Dolla $ign and C Ballin.
And why do you consider that song in particular to be the biggest?
So it's the one that everybody's going to keep playing. I hear it still to this day all the time. My most impactful song is probably Tupac Must Die, but my biggest song is That Good.
Now, in regards to either of these songs, okay, since you've implemented that one in the equation, are there any unknown facts or stories in regards to either of them that's never been publicly mentioned before? Could be in regards to creating them, recording them, or releasing them.
Never been mentioned before.
Yes.
I've never mentioned on a platform. I'm sure. So let me think. So for that good, that's a great, you got some really good questions. So for that good, right, one thing that I've never talked about the production of it is I was going to scrap it. Like I did not know what to think about it. Like that song is like an equation of what we figured out about hip hop, and we put it together. And when I heard it, when I first finished it, I just got so frustrated because it did not sound good. Like Ty Dolla $ign's vocals was a little bit funny, and the hook was everywhere, and the lyrics didn't feel like they fit. It didn't mash together. And I was gonna scrap it probably 2 weeks before we finished it. And Tupac Must Die. Tupac Must Die is a combination of it's about 7 people that probably produced on that song. It's so many small little parts. So it started with me and one of my homeboys. His name slipping my mind. Chepo. But Metro did some production on it. My homeboy Dante did some production on it. My homeboy Crew did some production on it. And somebody else helped with the hats. So it's about 6 or 7 producers on that one song, even though it's only Chepo and Glasses credited. But they produced some of the idea.
And how long did that song in particular actually take to create, from beginning to end?
8 days. I recorded it in 1 day, but the production, like I kept figuring out what was missing, and that's how it happened.
And you mentioned in a previous portion of questions that there is one regret with that song, and that was you wish it was more sped up, the BPMs were faster. Was that something that you said publicly for the very first time as well, or is that something you've said previous?
I think I said that once, but I just don't remember if I did, so I didn't want to tell that lie. But I don't know if I said that, but that's definitely something that was on my mind. Is it should have been, I shouldn't have wrapped it at 80 BPM. It should have been a lot closer to 98.
Now, the idea to this song, was this an idea that you've been sitting on, or was this just super organic and you started working it as soon as that idea or thought came to mind?
Super organic. It was more math. Again, it was like as I started understanding what records, hip hop, and marketing was about, I realized my job in hip hop was to unearth street urban culture from Los Angeles. And as a business, you know, to understand how people saw me and what they would want from me. Well, how do people see me? Well, most people see me as a Crip. And so whatever I say about Cripping is going to carry a little bit more weight than 99.9% of hip hop. Honestly, I was studying the word culture and looking up different aspects. And one of the aspects that came up was morality. And I realized because, again, at that point, you know, West Coast hip hop had been around roughly 30, 40 years. You know, you saw the fashion, you saw the cuisine, you know, you saw the lingo, all of these different aspects of culture. And as far as LA street urban culture goes, you saw different aspects, all the surface aspects. And it was like I had to tap into another aspect. And that's how I arrived at making that song. I looked into morality and I said, okay, what would somebody from this culture understand in that standard, but the rest of the world would never have been privy to that information? So it became an equation that I had to just fill the variables in, and that idea came from that.
Now, was there anything that potentially stopped this song from coming out?
Nipsey Hussle dying. That was really hard. I knew once Nip passed, people would ask me, and they know he's my friend. People know he's somebody that was a friend of mine, and we dropped our first mixtape the same year, Slauson Boy and White Lightning, and I knew people was going to associate those two. And when he passed away, April, I really had to decide if I wanted to still put out the music, and that was really a tough time.
And what led to your decision-making inevitably to do that?
There's no way possible he would have been okay with me not putting that out. There's just no way possible. I don't care what question I had to answer about, what happened with him. There's no way possible he would have even let that go. Like, I don't care if somebody died, he'd be like, you gotta put that out. And I prayed on it, and I really came up with these ideas, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna do it still.
And when you were first creating this song and implementing your homeboy, and then you started implementing other producers, were you all the only ones that knew about this song?
In creation, yes. Before it was released, it touched a few more hands before that.
And in the creation mode, as you're getting these producers involved, what was their reaction to the concept and your potential release of this and things of that nature?
They was all on board. It wasn't really any like rejection from the team of putting it together. Even the video itself with Joker and the homies, there wasn't no rejection about putting it together inside of the camp. It started to kind of be rejection once it started leaking to my first tier of, supporters and friends and people in the business that, before it gets to the general public.
And that still didn't stop you from
No.
the ultimate release of it?
No, this was, the original release was supposed to be on Tupac's birthday. And it just was such a marketing ploy, but it was such a crappy thing to do. Like, it was already going to be a hard swallow, and I knew that for most people. So to put it out on his birthday or on his death day, it was already pushing the envelope of where hip hop has been so far. So I just gave it its own time.
Now, in regards to That Good, did you know when you were creating, recording, or releasing this song that it was going to be one of your biggest songs in your catalog, if not the biggest?
Never before. The only person who believed in that song was my homeboy Quiz, that raps from LA. Quiz is the only one that was like, this is gonna be a hit.
And thinking back and reflecting on that song, what do you think specifically led it to get as big as it has today?
It was all encompassing of what hip hop is, the party itself. It was put together to be successful. It was DJ Head's first beat, but it was put together to be successful. It wasn't put together to just be an art piece. It was put together to play for 30 years.
Didn't know if you credit it to a particular platform you released it on or how it was released, perhaps a cosign from someone?
No. That really one was just straight to the streets. People liked the feel of it, and they embraced it.
And were you signed to a distribution company or a record label at that time?
Empire Distribution. Shout out to Ghazi.
And for clarification, do you think it was the visual, as in the music video for this song, that led to its success, or the audio itself?
The audio. I think I under-delivered with the video. I think PZ, the director, did an incredible job, but it almost fell apart at the last minute, and we got some real life things. Like, the pool party on That Good was a real pool party. That wasn't a video. So I think we fell apart, but we still completed it, and PZ did an amazing job. But that audio itself was just always gonna be a monster. It was always going to be special. It just worked that way.
Now, zooming out once again, what do you make of the fact that your biggest song was almost scrapped by you personally? You under-delivered on the music video, and it's still your biggest song out of all the songs in your music collection.
Culturally, man, culturally is really a phenomenon. What do I think about it, even though some parts of it came up short or I doubted it possibly?
Yes.
See something through the end. See it through. See it through. Don't assume that it's, see it all the way through to the finished product, and then, you'll figure it out what's going on. You will figure it out.
Anything else you want to mention about this song or even the Tupac song, or a question you weren't asked people want to know about either?
No.
Is there a question you receive you dislike getting asked? Something you can't stand to answer, perhaps?
When people ask me, how would I feel if somebody made Nipsey Must Die like Tupac Must Die? I hate that.
Why don't you like that question?
Because it's literally to insinuate I only made the song because people know Nipsey is my homeboy, so they say that as if I wouldn't have made the song about Tupac, like I dislike him or something, versus me just really, taking the journey through hip hop. Like, it's such an offensive question.
And what is your answer to that question once and for all?
I don't care. It's not my thing. Like, it wouldn't be for the same purpose. You know what I mean? When I made Tupac Must Die, it was me explaining street urban culture, through a situation and a person that mainstream America is fully aware of. That's not the same situation as Nip and what happened with him, nor do I even know the whole story. But, I don't really give a damn. You know what I mean? If you make it and you willing to stand behind it, go for what you know.